Joining us, and because he fought very strong against this, and to give us the outcome of those discussions and deliberations, is the Maniototo Councillor Stu Duncan. Stu joins us now. Stu, good morning to you.
How you going?
I'm going very well, and I understand you've bunked out of some sort of workshop to be with us, so I thank you for that time. Stu, yesterday there was your bureaucrats changed the name of the place that you and your community have lived for. How old is Maniototo as a settled community?
Oh, I don't know. In the 1860s, a lot of the people came here in the 1860s. Our family came in one of the first ships that took frozen meat back to the UK, and they settled the land in 1886. So it was settled then, and by a lot of the Irish and Scottish and a few others. And the early days before that, the Chinese were here in the goldfields. So yeah, in the 1860s, people came out from Dunedin on the ships to get away from all the bureaucracy and bullshit they had over in the motherlands.
Yes, well, recreated it, you might argue, since, but nevertheless, was there Maori settlements, Maori residential settlements in the Maniototo prior to settlement by Pākehā?
I don't think there were settlements, but they travelled through to the Greenstone, and there's sign of camps and ovens and all that all the way through, scattered through. So that's been well documented by people that, you know, they moved throughout from the coast, especially Karitane, Meraki and Dunedin. So, yeah, they travelled through, and that's been well documented, yeah.
But they didn't settle and make a settlement or anything like Karitane or Otapoti or anything like that?
No, they were on the coast with originally, and they travelled through to the Greenstone and the west coast and travelled back out, and so that was their association in the early days, yeah.
Okay, so you've had that name, the Maniototo, presumably from the moment of English settlement. I take it you probably spoke to a local Maori and they said, oh, this is Maniototo, and they said, oh, I'll write that down. Was that when the so-called spelling error started?
Well, that's always a bit like, that's been up for debate a long time, because original people say it was spelt in Maniototo, and there's all folklore stories of how it changed, and even to the extent that the argument was that the building they built, they put the concrete plaster across the front and they spelt it wrong, incorrectly spelt it wrong. So instead of redoing the concrete, there was argument that they changed the name, this A to an O. So that's always been the debate, and that's always been the exciting part of it. And Naseby's a bit the same. It's first settled by the Scottish ancestors and the surveyors, and some of the streets, if you're in the northern part of Scotland or the southern part, is how you spelt. And we just had a name change of Eyre Street with the local hotels on. So, you know, there's always going to be, and it could have been some of these is just a spelling error rather than deliberately doing it against the wishes of Manawa Whenua or the original name. And that's just a journey through time that those things have come up, really.
Having said that, it's only in recent years, in the 21st century and probably in the last decade, that there has been a suggestion that you should change your name. Is that right?
Oh, well, as it comes up, and obviously this came up through representation review where the local runanga and a kaha and staff said, well, if you were going to go through that and you represent it, then maybe you should consider the original spelling, which is aligned with how the runanga saw it, was Maniototo. And of course, people started diving into the archives and find out why the decision was made and changed. And some of it, to be fair, may well have just been mistakes. But when it came to the community, and you brushed on it before, they're pretty old and passionate, that a lot of the people weren't too worried about the error or the spelling error, and they just thought, well, why change it back? So we got a fair bit of pressure from the community to keep it the way it was. And that's what we just took forward to council, and they voted accordingly. And at some stage, you maybe have to look at and take the community for a ride and go back to the original, how it was perceived as spelling, or the way that the runanga would like the spelling to be done. So it's only a couple of letters, but of course in a wee passionate community, and they have a lot to say.
Yes, let's just go through that. I understand that in 1954, the New Zealand Geographic Board actually changed the official name to Maniototo, not Mania, but Maniototo, due to the long and accepted usage of that term. So they said, well, you've been using it forever, we'll call it Maniototo and we'll officially do so. At what right then did bureaucrats from your local council have to change the name?
Well, that's a discussion probably a lot of people have, and I'm not sure, but it came up for a vote yesterday to go back to the Maniototo. And that's probably what, I don't know the bureaucrats did. Some of them had an opinion on it, but I don't know if they had rights to do it. But now we've had a formal sort of a process yesterday where we had that discussion at the time, and it came up to the representation review. So it happens every 6 years, and it could well come back to us in 6 years' time.
What was the vote, Stu, yesterday around your council table?
10-1.
And who was the one?
The mayor voted for the purpose of the discussion to respect the Manawa whenua and to have that debate kept open more than that. Because it may well go back to the geographical board, it may go to the local referendum, the government. So, no, he voiced the opinion respecting the right of Manawa whenua to have a say.